In the midnight glow where the stars align, we lose ourselves in the rhythm divine. Underneath the sky painted with dreams we're chasing.
Hello and welcome to episode 26. Today we are going to continue with our series of the deep dives that we've been doing with the planets. Changing it up a little bit this week and going into one of the personal planets in keeping with the season we are in. Our previous episode was all about Taurus season, so we thought we would do a deep dive on the planet Venus, Taurus's ruler, today. So, what if the part of your chart that people typically reduce to love and relationships, the Venus archetype, is actually the part that teaches you how to receive life itself? Venus is not just about romance, although it definitely includes romance and relationship, but Venus is also about what you value, how you relate, and what feels good in your body. Also, what you allow yourself to have and receive. Venus is your capacity for pleasure, beauty, connection, and worthiness. And as far as how Venus moves, she is a rather fast-moving planet. She takes about 3 to 4 weeks to move through each sign, longer during her retrogrades. She always stays close to the sun, never more than 48 degrees away from where the sun is moving through the chart. And she has retrograde cycles about every 18 months. So not every year do we get a Venus retrograde, but they're fairly powerful when we do have them. And a full Venus cycle takes about 8 months to move through the entire 12 signs of the zodiac. So she's fairly quick moving. So what is the core archetype of who Venus is? Venus is the part of you that says, I want that. That feels good. This matters to me. Venus rules love and relating, attraction, connection, value and worth, our self-worth, our money, our possessions, and our values, meaning what do we place value on, whether it be integrity, wisdom, right? Those type of values too. Beauty and art, so aesthetics and style are included with Venus. Pleasure and the body, sensuality, comfort, harmony and energy, peace, receptivity, feminine magnetic principles, attraction, magnetism, and allowing and receiving, and our social and interpersonal energy, diplomacy, and relating with others. Venus is your inner compass of worth, not just what you love, but what you believe you're allowed to love and what you believe you are worthy of receiving. In myth, Venus, who is Aphrodite, rises from the sea, born from chaos, from raw creation itself. She rose out of the foam fully formed. She didn't become beautiful. She was beauty. She didn't ask for permission to be desired. She was desire itself. Because of this, Venus doesn't chase, she attracts. She is the archetype of pure femininity in the sense of alluring, drawing, receiving, and magnetizing to herself all that she desires. And that's what Venus represents in your chart. That innate magnetism, that knowing of what feels good, what feels true, and what you're here to receive. But in order to do so, we must first know our own worthiness of that receiving. And that is a key part of working with Venus. Where are we not allowing out of a sense of not enoughness or not being worthy enough? And that's a perfect segue actually for Jody to go into the shadow.
Yeah, so the shadow side, or what I like to call the low road of Venus, would be, and this is if your Venus is out of balance or out of harmony. So overgiving to feel loved, settling for less than what you deserve, avoiding conflict just to keep the peace. I know I can relate to that. Seeking validation outside yourself, or even completely closing yourself off, like not allowing yourself to receive at all. And then the gift of Venus is when your Venus is in alignment, you trust your worth and you receive it with ease. You attract relationships and experiences that reflect your value. You don't chase, you just become magnetic.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is another sort of fun, very unique element to Venus that I thought I would bring in briefly here. And that is that Venus has this morning star and evening star archetype. And there are a few astrologers who go really deep into this, and they look at Venus cycles and all sorts of deep dive fun things that you can do around morning star, evening star Venus as well. There's a book called Venus Star Rising by Ariel Gutman, if you are interested in going a lot deeper. But for the sake of brevity in the podcast, I'm just going to cover very briefly what morning star and evening star Venus might look like for you in your personal natal chart. So you simply look at where Venus is in relation to the sun in your birth chart. If your Venus comes before the sun in zodiacal order, meaning it rises before the sun, it's a morning star Venus. This expression is more bold, initiating, and desire-led. If your Venus comes after the sun, setting after the sun, it's an evening star Venus, which is more receptive, magnetic, and relational. So if you're not sure how to tell, an easy trick is to look at the degrees that you have your Venus and your sun. And if Venus is at an earlier degree in the zodiac than your sun, it's typically a morning star. If it's at a later degree, it's an evening star. Just to refresh again, a morning star is more bold, initiating, and desirous, and the evening star is more receptive, magnetic, and relational.
And you might have your Venus in a different sign than your sun. So if you're looking at your chart and your sun is in Sagittarius, but your Venus is in Capricorn, that's an easier way to distinguish that it's an evening star.
Correct. Yep. That's my placement. Yeah. I have the Venus in Capricorn, Sagittarius sun. Therefore, Capricorn is later in the zodiac. Thus, I have an evening star. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And there's so many layers. As I was preparing for this podcast, I was thinking astrology is so much fun and it gives us so many layers to everything. So when we think about relationships, we may think the seventh house, but when you think about Venus, that's really how we love, but it's also how we love our partners, how we love things in life, relationships. So it's more than just partnerships. So what you do is you just kind of layer that together. And then we're going to be going through the 12 signs and the 12 houses. So just to kind of give you an overview, your sign that Venus is in your natal chart is going to be how you love, what you're attracted to, your relationship style, your aesthetic, your money and value patterns. And then your house that your Venus is in is going to show where love plays out in your life and where you attract easily, where you seek harmony and connection.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And Jody said, as we use the word love, just remember that we do absolutely mean romantic love, but also familial love, friendship love, what we love and value, right? So love in every sense of the word, all versions of love. Okay, so if you have Venus in Aries, what does love feel like for you? Excitement, passion, pursuit. You are likely someone who is attracted quickly, you express yourself boldly, and you crave a spark. You're probably drawn to bold colors, movement, action. You find beauty and energy, confidence, and spontaneity. The shadow here for you could be losing interest quickly or chasing unavailable people. And ways to work with your Venus, if you have a Venus in Aries, might be keep love alive through novelty and honesty. Don't dim your fire, but don't burn everything down either, just for the excitement or from the need to be right.
Some essential oils that can support Venus in Aries would be wild orange or peppermint, and these keep the spark alive without burning out. And they also encourage playful confidence instead of impulsivity. And just a reminder, if you're using essential oils to support your Venus energy, you can put them in a diffuser. You can make a roller ball, which is, if you're familiar with essential oils, you just take the suggested essential oils, like for Aries, we have wild orange and peppermint. And I would put 5 drops each in an empty roller and then fill the rest up with fractionated coconut oil. If that sounds like too much work to you, just put a couple drops of oil in your hand. For example, 1 drop of wild orange and 1 drop of peppermint in your hand with some sort of carrier oil. And then just rub that together and apply it wherever you want to put it.
The carrier oil is in case some of them are a little hot, right? Like peppermint could be a little hot.
Yeah, the carrier oil just helps take away any worry about sensitivity to the oils. And plus it helps you hold it on your skin so it can absorb better. Otherwise, you lose a lot to like flash off or evaporation before it even gets to absorb. And depending on what you use, of course, I recommend doTERRA. You can put some of them on directly, but I always look at it like it's just adding that extra support by putting a carrier oil on with it, because you're going to absorb more of it.
I'm always learning from you about essential oils. I love it. Okay. Venus in Taurus. If you have Venus in Taurus, Venus is right at home here because Venus, of course, rules Taurus as well as Libra. But love for you feels like safety, touch, consistency, and peace. You are probably someone who is loyal, sensual, grounded. You love comfort and quality. And when I'm saying these two, when I say you are likely someone who is, we are also attracted to people with those similar qualities, right? Venus both represents how we love and what we love and are attracted to, right? So if you're a loyal person, you're likely attracted to someone who is loyal. If you're a sensual person, you're attracted to someone who is a sensual, touch-oriented person. So it is both how we express and how we receive often, our Venus, right? You also have a deep appreciation for texture, scent, food, music, these very physical, earthly, embodied things. You find beauty through the senses and the physical world. The shadow here for you could be resistance to change. Taurus likes its consistency, likes things to remain the same. And sometimes there can be over attachment. Clinging. It's a very similar feeling to resistance to change. But working with your Venus, let pleasure be an intentional practice for you. Build a life that feels good and allows space for the slower pace and sensual joys that you crave so much. Really let yourself build that into your life.
Taurus is deeply devoted. And most likely, you love beautiful things, so you're going to have a beautiful home. Mm-hmm. Great decorators.
Yes.
Some essential oils that can support those of you who have your Venus in Taurus would be Ylang Ylang or sandalwood. And these can deepen the sense of connection and relaxation. Also supports feeling safe in receiving.
All right. If you have Venus in Gemini, love for you feels like mental stimulation, curiosity, conversation. You want to be talking and communicating. That actually feels like love to you. You're likely someone who is flirty, communicative, definitely, and playful. You're attracted to variety, cleverness, and words. Most Venus and Gemini are word people. Yeah. You find beauty in ideas, in language, and mental stimulation. The shadow for you could be inconsistency or fear of commitment, because Gemini does sometimes have a difficult time making those decisions. So curious about so many things. There's a fear of, what if I just choose this one thing? There's so much else out there, right?
Yeah, fickle.
Yeah.
I'm a Gemini, so I can claim it.
You can say it. You can say it. So working with your Venus and Gemini, speak your love out loud. Connection for you deepens through conversation. And when it comes to the stick-to-itiveness, to the commitment, you can keep things fresh and exciting and alive with one person. You can choose and commit and then continue to bring in that spark and the curiosity and the getting to know each other for the rest of your lives. It doesn't have to be, now that's just, all the curiosity is gone. You can really nurture that.
Yeah. Keep it playful and fun. So some essential oils that can support you if you have your Venus in Gemini would be spearmint, which clears mental clutter, and then basil, which helps you stay present instead of scattered in love or in anything. We're just going to say love because we're talking about Venus, but Gemini can be scattered in anything.
Yes, true. If you have Venus in Cancer, love for you feels like emotional safety, nurturing, and quiet time spent with those you love. You're a quality time person for sure. You are someone who is likely very caring, protective of those you love. There's that kind of mama bear energy about Cancer. And I don't know if I should say mama bear specifically. I don't want to gender it, but it's that protective nature. And you bond very deeply. So you find beauty in nostalgia, home, comfort. cozy spaces, and meaningful objects. The shadow here for you could be overgiving of yourself, emotional dependency on others, and holding on to old hurts. Cancer, it has that great memory, right? Cancer is connected to the moon, and it can hold on to old wounding and old hurts and let that sort of fester. So those are things to be aware of. Working with your Venus in Cancer, let yourself receive the care you so naturally give to others. You are worthy of that same care and nurturing in return.
And some essential oil support, if you have your Venus in Cancer, would be Roman chamomile. This soothes emotional sensitivity. Balance blend will help create a sense of safety and grounding.
Okay. And if you have your Venus in Leo, love for you feels like being seen, adored, celebrated, and appreciated. And that doesn't necessarily mean on a big stage. We say this a lot about Leo. Leo gets a little bit misinterpreted. It could mean in front of a huge crowd being seen, but it could literally just mean feeling seen by the one person you're sitting across from, right? Or the one person you're in a relationship with. You want to be appreciated for who you are. You are someone who is likely very romantic, expressive, generous, and playful. You're attracted to bold, radiant aesthetics, brighter colors, fun decor, and you find beauty in creativity, performance, and like I said, being seen or noticed or appreciated for who you are. The shadow here for you could be needing that validation so much that you almost are not able to validate yourself, right? And so you're seeking it outside of yourself. Sometimes wounds to your pride. There can be an overly sensitive nature to Leo because it is looking for that affirmation. And if it doesn't receive it, or if it receives criticism, it can be very wounding. So those are things to be aware of. Working with your Venus in Leo, let love be playful and creative. But remember that your worth isn't dependent on applause or affirmation. Show yourself the validation and appreciation you crave, because your worth is there if no one ever reflects it back to you, right?
Yes. And some essential oil support for Leo would be rose. This helps open the heart, or wild orange, which supports self-love without needing outside validation. And I was thinking Venus and Leo is a good example of how important the house is where it falls. We always talk about how Leo kind of gets a
misconstrued.
Yeah, but really Leos can be very shy. And then if you have your Venus in Leo in the 12th house, then that is going to be more behind the scenes, versus if you have your Venus in Leo in the first house, that is going to be more prominent.
Pretty typically, any of the water houses, 4th, 8th, or 12th, are going to have a much more internal expression and even a subconscious expression. Something like Leo in the 4th, 8th, or 12th is going to act very differently, like you said, than it would in one of the, like the 10th, the 9th, the 1st, some of those more outward houses.
Yeah, and then depending on the aspects to Venus also. So in general, this is like the general theme for each Venus sign placement. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, gosh, that doesn't really sound like me, then those are the next things that you want to look at, like what house is it in and what aspects are to it, because there are other things that can downplay that energy.
Definitely. Yeah, it's all about layering in astrology, which is what makes you so unique. Because these archetypes stand, but then you weave them together into your own story. The aspects, the house, the sign, all of these things weave together to create you, unique you.
Yeah.
So, we give you as much as we can of these archetypes, and then how to layer them. And if you're having trouble doing that, because that is one of the most difficult things about astrology, is learning how to synthesize and bring those things together. Jody and I are always available for bookings, for readings, to help walk you through that and help you synthesize your chart in that way. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think, these podcasts are meant to kind of break things down, and because it can be so overwhelming, we're just trying to give you little bite-sized pieces, sometimes big bites, sometimes little bites, kind of walking through it yourself. But we do love doing this and love checking out charts, but Anyway, we'd love to help you if you don't want to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. If you have Venus in Virgo, love for you feels like being useful, thoughtful care, and intentional actions. You are someone who is definitely all about acts of service, attention to detail, and you have this sort of deep underlying care for all life. There's this really healing aspect of Virgo. It's deeply caring. It sees human life, nature, all life around, and has this care and want to help, which is such a beautiful thing. You find beauty in simplicity, detail, and refinement. You enjoy clean spaces, intentional design, and quiet order brings peace and joy in your space. You like order and organization. It makes you feel peaceful and at rest. Some shadow here for you, though, could be perfectionism, as you would imagine, with all that detail-oriented mind, over-analysis in love, or criticism. Because you have that tendency towards perfectionism, it can be easy to be overly critical of yourself or others because you're looking for things to be quote unquote right. Working with your Venus in Virgo, let love be imperfect, which probably even hearing that makes your hackles rise a little bit. Imperfect is not your favorite word. But devotion doesn't have to be earned through fixing or perfecting everything. Neither you nor those around you need to reach a certain threshold in order to be worthy of love. You already are.
Some essential oils that can support you if your Venus is in Virgo would be lavender. This softens perfectionism. Clary sage helps you receive instead of always giving.
If you have Venus in Libra, so this is Venus's other sign she rules. So love for you feels like harmony, mutual connection, shared values, and understanding. You are someone who is likely very charming, balanced in your opinions, and partnership oriented. You're naturally drawn to symmetry, art, elegance. You find beauty in balance, design, and visual harmony. Venus Libra people are natural artists or designers. It's innate. The shadow for you here, though, could be people pleasing, right? Because you are so desirous of that harmony. You just are saying yes to everyone around you, but maybe not taking your own needs into account. Avoidance of conflict. These are the peacemakers, right? Venus Libra people. And needing things to be fair. That's on the other side. It's like this, if there's a sort of a rubs you the wrong way, if things aren't fair, if it's not playing out in a way that feels fair. Working with your Venus in Libra, true harmony includes honesty. Your needs matter too. So it's not always about peacekeeping just for the sake of it. It's about balance. It's about I have my opinions and you have yours, and we can lovingly discuss them and both come to the table with our truth.
Yeah. And essential oil support for those of you who have your Venus in Libra would be geranium for balancing your emotions, and then magnolia for supporting healthy boundaries in relationships.
If you have a Venus in Scorpio, love for you feels like depth, intensity, and soul bonding. There is nothing light or breezy for you about love. It is soul to soul connection. So you are likely someone who is all or nothing in love. You go deep and you go all in. You crave emotional merging and intense passion within relationship. And again, even within friendship, yes, take the sensual part out of it, but within friendship, you still need that deep connection and to be having shared passions. So you are someone who is attracted to mystery, depth, the unseen. You actually find beauty in transformation and in darkness and emotional truth. The shadow here, though, for you could be jealousy, control, or guardedness and fear of betrayal. Scorpio has that sense of everything could fall apart at any moment or sees the darker side of things, so can want to have its walls up. So working with your Venus in Scorpio, let intimacy be safe, not something you have to guard or test. That means finding someone trustworthy and then choosing to fully trust, and let your walls down.
Yeah. An essential oil support would be patchouli. This grounds emotional intensity, or myrrh, which supports trust and emotional safety.
Okay, if you have Venus in Sagittarius, love for you feels like freedom, expansion, meaning, exploration, and truth. You are someone who likely loves adventure, and you need space to be your authentic self, and you need absolute honesty in your relationships. You find beauty in travel, culture, other cultures, philosophy, anything that expands your perspective and your worldview. The shadow for you, though, here could be avoidance of commitment because you are so freedom loving and so expansive, or restlessness, that itchy feet feeling. And ways to work with that would be to incorporate adventure and expansion into your relationships, and making sure that in a romantic context that your partner knows you need that freedom to go and explore, or they explore with you, right? So that restlessness gets its balm. So choose relationships that grow with you, not ones that cage you.
Essential oil support here would be citrus bliss, which keeps joy and expansion alive, or motivate blend, which supports commitments without feeling restricted.
Okay, if you have Venus in Capricorn, love to you feels like stability, commitment, and long-term building. You are someone who is likely very loyal, possibly reserved, and you show love through your reliability and consistency, and also receive love in that way. You're attracted to quality craftsmanship, timeless styles and pieces. You find beauty in structure, mastery, and things that last the test of time. Think like old cathedrals and castles, right? Think really timeless beauty. The shadow for you could be emotional guardedness. There can be that nature with Capricorn of that reserved, internal, walls up type of a feeling. And a love that is transactional, because again, Capricorn needs to be purposeful about opening up to emotion and opening up to tenderness and vulnerability, so that it isn't just all about the bottom line, right? And not a transactional love. So working with your Venus in Capricorn, let yourself soften. Love isn't something you have to earn through proving yourself or earn in any way. It's all about softening, allowing, and receiving, all of those things that we talked about earlier with Venus. And Capricorn has a tendency to want to prove and to do. So this is an interesting placement. Honestly, Venus in Capricorn is not the most symbiotic of relationships. It's an interesting blend of energies. So just being aware of that softening into love and allowing.
Right. An essential oil support for this would be frankincense, which helps open emotional walls. And then cedarwood, which connects you to the deeper heart truth.
Okay, if you have Venus in Aquarius, love to you feels like freedom, authenticity, and shared values. So you are someone who likely enjoys unique relationships. You value your individuality. So you are someone who is drawn to the unique and unexpected, just in general. You find beauty in innovation, technology, and what serves the greater good of humanity. You have this big picture vision of the world and the connectedness of everything. And you find beauty in exploring those things and being of service in those spaces. The shadow for you could be emotional detachment, unpredictability, or fear of vulnerability. Aquarius, similar vibe to, we were just talking about Capricorn. There can be this desire to be so much in service and to compartmentalize. And you have the ability to really shut off or detach from your emotions in order to continue on the path that you're on, in order to take up the torch and carry on with your mission. It's like the archetype of Aquarius. So being very aware of that, sometimes cutting off the emotion in order to just keep going. It's okay to feel into your emotions, especially with your Venus placement. actually feel what you're feeling in that moment and be vulnerable with those you love about those feelings. Working with your Venus in Aquarius, stay open to emotional intimacy while honoring your need for space.
Essential oils that will support your Venus in Aquarius would be tea tree, which clears emotional detachments, or eucalyptus, which supports heart-mind connection.
And finally, if you have Venus in Pisces, love to you feels like soul connection, transcendence, and big feelings. You are someone who is very naturally romantic, compassionate, dreamy, creative, and imaginative. You find beauty in art, music, spirituality, anything ethereal, symbolic, or transcendent. I think about Venus and Pisces people probably are the type of people who love a good fantasy romance novel, like fairies. And yeah, many of us love those. I love those as well. But it reminds me of Venus and Pisces, that deep fantasy realm. The shadow, though, for you could be idealization or projection onto another, seeing the best in them, seeing their soul, but not the reality of them, not the who they actually are, right? Losing yourself in love, losing your sense of identity, because of Pisces doesn't have boundaries. So be aware, you need that boundary. Don't give yourself over so much to someone else that you've lost yourself in them. And then overwhelm and shut down, because of your ability to feel so much, it can be very easy to become overwhelmed and want to shut down and numb out and escape. So working with your Venus in Pisces, keep one foot in reality. Love can be magical and grounded. So grounding practices for you, coming back to reality when you find yourself projecting out into the future too much, or projecting onto someone, or like fantasizing a little too much. Come back to reality.
Yeah. Essential oil support for Venus and Pisces would be jasmine, which helps strengthen boundaries, or neroli, which keeps compassion without losing yourself. All right, now we're going to go through Venus through the houses. The first house, if you have your Venus here, love is part of your identity. You naturally attract others, and you have a very magnetic energy.
The mantra for you, if you have Venus in the first house, would be, I am worthy of love simply by being who I am. And your growth edge here is not relying on others to reflect your worth back to you, but understanding and giving yourself that affirmation without needing the mirror of another.
Okay, we are on to the second house. So if you have your Venus in the second house, love and worth are connected for you. You value stability and security. Money and self-worth themes are very strong.
And your mantra is, I am worthy of having, receiving, and feeling secure. Your growth edge is not tying your worth solely to money or material things, but understanding that your worth is actually you, yourself, without having any of that or proving yourself through those material things.
If you have your Venus in the third house, you love through communication, flirting, talking, connecting mentally.
And your mantra is, my voice, my thoughts, and my perspective are valuable. And your growth edge is speaking authentically instead of saying what keeps things easy.
Fourth house, if you have your Venus here, love feels like home. You have a deep need for emotional security and family connection.
And your mantra is, I am safe to receive love and create emotional security within myself. Your growth edge is not over-identifying with being the caretaker or emotional anchor.
If you have your Venus in the fifth house, love for you is romantic, playful, and creative. You love being in love.
And your mantra is, it is safe for me to experience joy, pleasure, and self-expression. Your growth edge is not needing validation or attention to feel worthy of love.
If you have your Venus in the sixth house, you love through helping and supporting others. Relationships show up in daily life and your routines.
Your mantra is, I don't have to earn love through service or perfection. Your growth edge is letting love be received, not just given through effort.
Venus in the 7th house, partnership is everything for you. You are naturally relationship oriented.
Yes. And your mantra is, I can be in relationship and still honor myself. Your growth edge is not losing your identity or your truth in the desire for harmony.
You have your Venus in the 8th house. This is deep, intense emotional bonds, and love transforms you.
Your mantra is, it is safe to be vulnerable, to trust, and to share deeply. Your growth edge is releasing control, fear, or testing in relationships.
Venus in the 9th house, you love through growth, travel, or learning. You're attracted to different cultures or beliefs.
Your mantra is, love can expand me without needing to limit me. Your growth edge is not avoiding depth or commitment in the name of freedom.
Venus in the 10th house, love is connected to your public life or reputation. You may meet your partner through your career.
And your mantra is, my worth is not defined by success or how I am perceived. Your growth edge is separating your self-worth from external validation or status.
Venus in the 11th house, this is love through friendships and community. So partners often feel like your best friend.
Yeah. Your mantra is, I belong as my authentic self within a larger whole. Your growth edge is not abandoning your individuality to feel accepted.
And if your Venus is in the 12th house, this is spiritual, private, or even hidden love, deep compassion, and sensitivity.
Your mantra is, I can love deeply without losing myself. Your growth edge is boundaries, loving without self-sacrifice or disappearance. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about Venus in the natal chart in relationship with the other planets, because particularly the outer planets, this is pretty important to be aware of. It has a strong effect on how we receive love and give love and relate to one another. But first, I'm going to look at just conjunctions with the personal planets and Jupiter, touch on them very briefly just to give you an idea. And then I'm going to go deeper into the outer planets. So your Venus sign shows how you love. The house shows where that story plays out, but the aspects to your Venus show what love has felt like for you and what you're learning through it. Let's look at your Venus blended by conjunction with the sun. So if you have your Venus conjunct the sun, your love and identity are intertwined. You are your values. You express love naturally. Something to watch for would be seeking validation or tying your worth to being liked. If you have Venus conjunct your Mercury, you love through words, communication, and connection. You're someone who is likely charming, expressive, and mentally engaging. Something to watch for could be saying what keeps the peace instead of what's true. If your Venus is conjunct your moon, your emotional bonding is essential. Love to you equals safety, nurturing, and feeling held. Something to watch for could be emotional dependency or overgiving. If you have Venus conjunct your Mars, you likely have strong chemistry, desire, and attraction. You are someone who is magnetic, passionate, and expressive. Something to watch for could be push-pull dynamics or a conflict between desire and harmony. And if you have Venus conjunct Jupiter, you are likely someone who has big-hearted love, generosity, abundance, natural optimism in relationships. Something to watch for, though, could be overgiving, over-idealizing, or excess in general, just because of the nature of Jupiter making things so big. So Venus in relationship to these more personal inner planets tends to have a gentler effect on our lives. But I do want to mention that even these planets can absolutely show up with tension through squares, oppositions, semi-squares, and any of the aspects we call friction aspects. And those can still bring growth edges in relationships. But for the sake of brevity on this podcast, I just covered conjunctions with the inner planets today. But now I want to zoom out a little bit and look at Venus in connection with the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, as well as the social planet Saturn. Because these are the aspects that tend to carry a deeper weight to them These are the ones that often show up as core relationship patterns, the kinds of experiences that really shape how you give and receive love, how you relate to others, and ultimately how you experience your own sense of worth. Especially with the harder aspects, squares, oppositions, like I said, these can feel like places where love has been tested, stretched, or even challenged in your life. But from an evolutionary perspective, these aren't punishments. They are the places your soul has chosen to grow through love, relationships, not just romantic, right? All forms of relationship, and through your relationship with value and worth itself. They are teachers. They are lessons that we signed up for to move through. And something really important to say here as well is even the flowing aspects, our trines and sextiles, can still carry the same themes as the more difficult friction aspects, but they might feel more natural or easeful, but they can also operate a little more unconsciously if we're not paying attention because it's just flowing. We may not notice it, but it might have a similar theme. What's an example of this? Venus trine or sextile Neptune is natural romanticism. That's beautiful, right? But still there's a potential for projection or unrealistic expectations. Venus trine or sextile Saturn, natural loyalty. That's beautiful. But still, there could be a tendency towards being emotionally reserved or closed off. Venus trine or sextile Pluto, natural intensity and passion, but still needing the conscious depth work and transformation that Pluto calls for. And in this case, through relationship and value and worth. So it's just something to be aware of as I go through these. No matter what the aspect may be between these planets, there's some lesson to be learned there. All right, so Venus and Saturn. Love meets reality, fear, and commitment. How this can feel. Love feels serious, heavy, or high stakes. There can be a fear of rejection, abandonment, or not being enough. Holding back, guarding your heart, feeling like love has to be earned. Sometimes people with aspects of Venus and Saturn are late bloomers in love because Saturn takes its time with that growth, right? So sometimes love can be a little delayed. You may have attraction to older, unavailable, or emotionally distant partners. Long-term commitment is definitely something that you really value, but only after your walls come down. You have to be able to be vulnerable to get to that place of long-term commitment. Strong loyalty once trust is built. That is a real gift that you have. Shadow here could be self-protection, turning into isolation. Settling for less in relationship due to fear you may not find what it is you're looking for. There's that sort of scarcity mentality sometimes. And believing that love equals responsibility instead of joy and peace and gentleness. The gift here is deep, lasting, committed love, emotional maturity and devotion, and the ability to build love over time. Saturn-Venus aspects aren't trying to deny you love, but rather asking you to build a relationship with your own worth first, so you will be ready when the time comes. Venus and Neptune aspects. Love meets fantasy, idealism, and transcendence. So this can feel like deep longing for soulmate love, falling in love with potential, not reality, blurred boundaries, confusion between intuition and projection. My gosh, do I relate to this? My Venus and Neptune are right on top of each other. They are 1 degree apart. Again, awareness is key here, right? And we can actively work with these things once we're aware of them. And that is natally and by transit. What this can look like: attracting unavailable or mysterious partners, romanticizing relationships, deep compassion and empathy. That is a real gift of this. Artistic or creative expression through love is another gift. Shadow here could be disillusionment, heartbreak, illusion, losing yourself in love, savior and victim dynamics, because you've fallen so much in love with the potential of someone and you want them to rise to that potential. And so you're going to save them from themselves.
That Neptune really blurs those boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it can. I shouldn't say it does. It can.
Yes. Yes, it can. Yes. And with all of these things, I'm not proclaiming this over you. We are all unique.
We all have free will choice.
Yes, we have free will choice. So these are just things to be aware of, not me ever labeling you, okay? All right. So your gifts are unconditional love, spiritual connection, profound creativity, and compassion. So with all of these things, there comes a gift as well. So Neptune asks, can you experience magic and love without abandoning yourself? And can you keep one foot firmly planted in reality while holding the magic and beauty of all that you desire? Venus and Uranus. Love meets freedom, change, and unpredictability. This can show up as craving excitement and space in relationships, sudden attractions and sudden endings, feeling restless or trapped in relationships, and needing independence to feel alive. So often people with Venus-Uranus aspects can find themselves in non-traditional relationships. Polyamory is sometimes something that comes up with this aspect. On and off again dynamics, attraction to unique or unavailable partners, and a real strong need for autonomy. The shadow is instability and inconsistency, avoiding depth by keeping things unpredictable, and fear of being tied down. Your gifts are authentic, liberating love, relationships that honor individuality, the ability to break old relational patterns. Uranus teaches you that love should feel freeing, not confining. But Uranus-Venus aspects also ask if we can balance our own needs and desires with those of the other. And finally, Venus-Pluto. Love meets power, intensity, and transformation. This can feel like all or nothing love, deep emotional bonding, fear of betrayal, loss, or abandonment, and love that changes you at your core. This can show up as intense attraction, like magnetic soul connection, really being drawn to somebody and not even knowing why, this magnetic intensity. Transformative relationships, much of your transformation and deep work will come through relationships if there's Venus-Pluto aspects. Power struggles or control dynamics. Deep emotional healing also through love. So the shadows here can be jealousy, obsession, control, patterns of abuse, either perpetrating or being the receiver of, fear-based attachments, feeling the need to constantly test love instead of trusting it. But the gifts are profound intimacy, emotional depth, and truth, and a love that transforms and ultimately heals. Pluto doesn't do surface level love at all. It asks you to meet yourself fully through relationship, to do the shadow work and bring your wounds into the light to be transformed through love and genuine self-worth. And I want to say this, having these aspects with the outer planets does not mean you're doomed in love at all. It means you're here to experience love in a deeper, more conscious way. These aspects are initiations. They are not punishments. Okay. One very quick note here about Venus in transits, because it moves so quickly, and instead of going into the long-term themes like we have in the other deep dives for the outer planets, I'm just going to briefly talk about how we can work with Venus as she moves through our chart. Where Venus moves in your chart by transit, she brings attention to what feels good. She highlights relationships in that area of life. She invites harmony, beauty, and alignment, and she shows you where you need to realign your values. So wherever Venus is moving in your chart right now, she is in Taurus at the moment. We talked all about Taurus in our previous episode about Taurus season. If you missed that episode, that's a great way to add a lot of context to where Venus is right now. And that is where life is asking you to soften, receive, and enjoy. And then finally, my favorite part is the practical integration. I like to wrap up the episodes with ways to work with whatever it is we're talking about, in this case, a planet, in practical ways for everyone, no matter what your placement is, what sign it's in, house, etc. Just working with Venus, whether it be natally, by transit, etc. So track what you're attracted to. Venus speaks to us through attraction. So what are you naturally drawn to? Colors, people, spaces, ideas, art, music. Find Venus in your chart and see if you can actively understand your desires through the lens of its sign, house, and aspects. Pay attention to your sensory experiences. Venus lives in the body and enjoys sensual pleasures and slow present moments. And sensual, I think, gets a bit of a one lane sort of interpretation as sensual equals sexual. But if you break it down, sensual literally is about our senses, right? It can be sexual in nature, but it's about our senses. What we smell, feel, taste, touch, all of those things. So it's about sensory things. So you can start honoring Venus by consciously noticing and finding pleasure in things like how incredible your morning coffee smells, how soft and comfortable your blankets are, music that moves you in some way, how wonderful it is to incorporate a gentle stretch during your day, or a few deep breaths, the warmth of the sun on your skin, those little moments, just noticing and slowing down and appreciating those small moments really honors your Venus. Practice receiving. This one is hard for a lot of us, but pay attention to what you deflect, dismiss, or push away, because those areas point to where you do not yet feel worthy or deserving. So do you deflect compliments from others, offers of help or assistance, rest and time for yourself, or pleasure and joy? If you said yes to any of these, it's a great indicator of where Venus wants to help you feel worthy and to open up to receiving. Define your values and align your money with your self-worth. Ask, what actually matters to me? Where am I out of alignment with my true values? Where do I undercharge, overspend, or withhold? Venus rules both love and money, so just something to keep in mind. And finally, romanticize your life without escaping it. So light candles, slow down your meals, make ordinary moments sacred. That is what Venus is all about.
Venus reminds us that life is meant to be enjoyed. Thank you for joining us for this episode. And if you liked it, please let us know by clicking the like and subscribe. Share it with a friend.
Yes, it really helps us grow and reach more people. We appreciate every single one of you, and we will chat with you again soon.
Thanks for joining us under the stars today. We hope you're leaving feeling inspired, grounded, and more connected to your inner truth.
And if you loved this episode, we would be so grateful if you would subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone you love.
If you're ready to explore your soul's path through psychological, evolutionary astrology, and personal astrological coaching, you can find Mari at yoursoulpurposeastrology.com or follow her on Instagram and Facebook at Your Soul Purpose Astrology.
And if you're ready to illuminate your birth chart and explore how essential oils can support your emotional and energetic alignment, you can find Jody at earthandskyessentials.com or at Earth and Sky Essentials on Facebook and Instagram.
And remember, your soul is always guiding you.
The magic starts within.